While completionists wouldn't bat an eyelid at time-consuming and energy-intensive collectathons and side quests, looking for every single little thing to tick off every single little box the game has to offer isn't for everybody. This is doubly as true when these unlocks aren't worth the hassle, and for those instances, we've already made WhatCulture lists to ensure you don't make the same mistakes we did. This list isn't for those letdowns though, it's for the unlocks that might have been a pain in the butt to pull off, but were ultimately worth the trouble. Don't expect any Hetsu's Gift of Poop-esque rewards here, because whether these unlocks were a piece of gear, an ability, narrative payoff, or the animation of an adorable little forest critter, these rewards made you feel good for putting in the effort. Really hope you guys know what Hetsu's Gift is, otherwise that reference is gonna raise some eyebrows. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are 9 insanely long video game unlocks that are worth it. Number 9. Inari Shrines, Ghost of Tsushima. The Inari Shrines, or Fox Shrines in Ghost of Tsushima, can be found by choosing to stop and smell the graphically impressive flora and taking note of foxes scampering around the game world. Once discovered in their dens, you can tail these little guys to shrines, of which there are no less than 49. That might seem a little daunting considering the size of the game world and the high-stakes moral and civil conflict the protagonist Jin is trying to juggle, but it's well worth seeking all of them out. Despite the time investment, especially for the more obscured dens, finding shrines will reward you with charm slots. Unlock all of these and you'll eventually be rewarded with charms that buff your combat and stealth abilities. Find them all and you'll not only have got your hands on a special mask for Jin, the favor of the Kami trophy, and boosts for those stellar charms you were granted earlier, you'll also have seen the adorable fox petting animation 49 times. And really, is there any better reward than that? Number 8. Ancient Armory, Horizon Zero Dawn. I'm gonna be straight with you here, this particular quest is on my pile of shame. Despite desperately wanting to finish this one and reap the armory rewards, I couldn't quite pull it off and just decided to finish the main game. Those who persevered though could tell you it's absolutely worth doing, if for no other reason than it makes all the combat for the rest of the game significantly easier. You'll pick up the Ancient Armory quest in one of 2 ways, by picking up any of the power cells scattered about the game world, or by visiting the rock formation east of Mother's Rise and locating the bunker. Either way, 2 things will become quickly apparent. You desperately want to equip the sick armor in the center of the room, and the fact that this is going to be a doozy of a time sink. The only way to access said sick armor is by finding 5 power cells in the game world and bringing them back to the bunker. Now the tricky part is, these cells could be anywhere. Not only that, but they're pretty well hidden despite being linked to main story beats. There are also a handful of cells which can only be obtained in certain points in the story and are periodically locked and unlocked depending on whether the area they're located in is accessible. Pull it off though and you'll get your hands on the Shield Weaver armor, which comes equipped with an energy shield, essentially making you invulnerable for a certain amount of time. Given you're going up against gigantic robot dinosaurs, that's definitely not a bad thing. Number 7. Reuniting Anu and Cafe, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. To say the quests, if we can call them that, in Majora's Mask are complex would be one of the biggest understatements in video games. With a repeating 3-day cycle over which characters change, environments drastically alter, and the end of the world grows ever nearer, getting anything accomplished feels like a losing battle against time. So it's a good thing Link has as many do-overs as he needs. In the case of your attempts to reunite Anu and Cafe, this is especially true. This isn't technically a side quest, nor is it an unlock that will improve your gameplay proficiency in any particular way, but it is so narratively satisfying at its conclusion that we're gonna count it. There is a lengthy series of convoluted steps you'll need to execute in a time-specific and particular order over the entire 3-day cycle, not to mention specific masks you'll need to have access to if you hope to pull it off. You'll also almost certainly need to know the Song of Inverted Time, as certain sections of this undertaking are especially tight on time. Getting through this one with a guide is an absolutely arduous task, but whether you decided to use one or not, reuniting the lovers just in time for the world to end is a narrative element absolutely worth seeing. Number 6. Millicent Quest, Elden Ring. Elden Ring is an undertaking from end to end, whether we're talking about exploring its world that's beautiful and brutal in equal measure, taking on its larger-than-life nightmare-fueled baddies, or taking on its especially involved quests. This particular entry involves the latter, as we're talking about Millicent's quest, which spans the length of the game. Like basically everyone in Elden Ring, and let's face it, every Soulsborne game, when you come across the young woman Millicent, she's having a capital B, capital T bad time. You're given a quest to help heal her scarlet rot, which takes you through a series of needle and prosthesis retrieval, plenty of fearsome face-offs, and more than a handful of meetings as you progress across the sprawling game world. If you decide to help Millicent by fighting off her siblings, you'll be rewarded with the unallied gold needle, which can be used in Millenia's arena to pick up Miquella's needle and a somber ancient dragon smithing stone. Miquella's needle is particularly important as it's the only thing that can reverse the Lord of Frenzied Flame ending. This questline really is the full package, as it's both narratively fulfilling and also offers up some really great loot. It might take you a super long time, but more time in the lands between is never a bad thing. Number 5. Building Tarrytown, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Zelda finds itself with another entry on this list because I guess Nintendo can't help themselves when it comes to giving you wildly involved quests that also happen to be all shades of charming and rewarding. Building Tarrytown is a perfect example. From the Ground Up is a 10-step side quest that will have you building a town, well, from the ground up. You'll do everything from collecting literally hundreds of pieces of wood to recruiting villagers of all disciplines and races. As you do so, merchants will open shops, bringing new goods for you to get your hands on, and ultimately you'll even attend a wedding upon the conclusion of the town's construction. If the warm fuzzies aren't enough to make it all worth it, you'll also be given 3 diamonds and be granted access to a free inn. I mean, technically you did pretty much build the whole town, so you should hope it's free. Number 4. Cryptid Hunting, Disco Elysium. The bizarre Cryptid Hunting questline in Disco Elysium does a very good job of encapsulating what the game requires of you and what it has to offer for those willing to sign up for the ride. Just like the game as a whole, it's extensive, verbose, time-intensive, riddled with thematic implications and metaphors, and unlikely to be seen by every player. But for those committed to the cryptozoology cause, it's a fantastic experience. This one kicks off on the ground floor of the very same hotel that your amnesiac alcoholic cop wakes up in, and should you follow it through to its conclusion, it'll take you to the very end of the game. You meet a woman in the lobby of your mediocre hotel who tells you her husband is out surveying for evidence of a phasmid they suspect dwells in the area. To say too much about the game's mythical cryptid would spoil it. Suffice it to say what the creature represents in the narrative and the wonder of learning more about it at the conclusion of the heart-wrenching, violent, humorous, and emotionally evocative story so far brings everything to a head in the perfect way. Just make sure you don't dodge the cryptozoology side quests, otherwise you won't be able to experience this one in its intended entirety. Number 3. One small favor, RuneScape. It's not uncommon for NPCs in a role-playing game to ask you to get on top of their busy work or run errands that feel a little beneath your pay grade as the hero of the realm. But being the good dude you are, we pretty much always take it on anyway. This only becomes an issue when said task spirals out of control and what sounds like a tiny favor turns into an enormous, arduous task. Such is the case in One Small Favor, and to be fair, the title probably should have tipped us off. In RuneScape, this side quest does indeed begin as one small favor, but quickly snowballs into a multi-part quest that will take you across the entirety of the map and back again, doing dozens of little favors after little favors, all to deliver some red mahogany logs to your initial quest giver. What begins with a humble request for logs spirals into helping someone convicted of a crime, locating a missing apprentice, delivering chickens to a cult, healing an ailing armorsmith, helping a dwarf become a druid, getting a girl out of a rock, as well as about 20 other things. For your trouble, and I think we can all agree that was a lot of trouble, you'll get a bunch of experience points, a couple of new abilities, a new traversal route, and a steel keyring. Okay, a keyring doesn't sound that exciting, but it stores your keys to save space in the bank and inventory, which is actually a pretty great thing. Number 2, Star Control, Fallout 4. Now this one is going to sound pretty similar to my entry about Horizon Zero Dawn's fancy armor, but it's Fallout 4, not Horizon Zero Dawn, so you know, different apocalypse. The Nuka World add-on features a side quest called Star Control, which you can pick up in the Galactic Zone. A not insignificant pile of corpses will signal to you the presence of the Star Control mainframe, alongside which you'll first spot the Quantum X01 power armor. And to put it bluntly, if you're into power armor in Fallout games, you're gonna want that. The only problem is you need to locate 35 star cores to boot up the mainframe and access the suit. As you trundle toward that mighty task, you'll be able to take certain types of robots offline with every 5 cores you install, which should make adventuring quite a bit easier. With every core installed, you can then pick up the Power Armor, which comes with the enviable effect of increased action point refresh speed plus impressive stats. Finally, you'll wrap up the quest by assigning the Galactic Zone to the raider gang of your choice. Number 1. Big Metal Unit. Baldur's Gate. As far as insanely long unlocks go, there's been some pretty bold entries on this list, some taking the entire game to complete. But this one takes not 1, not 2, but 3 games, so into the number 1 slot it goes. The Big Metal Unit is a set of armor made of full plate mail. You'll craft it using the golden pantaloons from Baldur's Gate 1, the silver pantaloons from Baldur's Gate 2, Shadows of Arm, and the bronze pantalettes from Baldur's Gate 2, Throne of Baal. Let's also be clear, none of these items are independently easy to find or hang on to either. Import your saves across each game, and Carrick the Smith will make you the fancy Big Metal Unit. As the name implies, this is indeed a hulking piece of gear. Not only will you transform into a golem while you wear it, you also will no longer be able to fit through doors, so that's pretty funny. The embarrassment of undressing to avoid jamming yourself in doorways aside, the armor has an impressive armor class of -10, with extra protections against slashing, piercing, and missile damage, as well as an immunity to backstab. While it's a cool piece of gear, the humor of it all is probably the cherry on top for those who committed to pulling this one together. That's the end of our list, but do let me know down in that comment section which insanely long video game unlock was most worth it to you. As always, I've been Chess from WhatCulture. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you like, you can come say hi to me on my X account, where I'm at Jess McDonald, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more gaming goodness.